Okay.
Wow. We're introducing some noise into the system, so give me just a second while we figure this out.
Here's our buzz.
Got it. Interesting. We had a feedback loop. Okay. Whatever it takes to solve a problem, that's what we do. Okay, I think we got our noise problem solved. Folks, welcome to Build or Buy. We're a little bit late. Another technical difficulty, at least today we have AC and we have mics. And I figured out what one of the problems was. One of the other problems turned out to be a feedback loop from one of the cameras for the microphone. So I've got that solved. So I think we're good to go now. So, as we transition from one thing to another, we meet every Wednesday from 1 to 3. I want to thank you for being here. Not sure how many we have. Everybody, please be sure and sign up. Right now, we're meeting here at Chapelwood. I want to thank the folks for welcoming us here at Chapelwood. To remind everybody online, this is a live meeting, so what you see as it happens is live. We have some bugs we're working out. It looks like everything's going to be okay today. Not everybody's here. The folks that were here last week, I hope they'll come back next week. Last week we had no AC and we had no mics, so that was a little bit rough trying to use mics for the live audience online, but for those of us here at the meeting live, it was confusing. So there's several things I want to get into, some stuff that, as Nick Streeter said, since he's not here, some things we may do that he's not interested in. I'm going to take advantage of that opportunity today, and I'm going to show you something with graphics, how to do graphics, and how we're doing graphics live on screen when you see some of the stuff. But first, Joe's got some information he's going to share with us. Joe, you want to go ahead?
Sure. Okay, you all know now, by now, at least I hope you do, that the easiest way and the best way to turn off your computer when you want to turn it off is...
Put you up?
Put me up.
Number one.
You're still up.
Okay, Philip, that's preview. Put him up on program, which is on the right side. So flip those screens. Just press your space bar. Thank you.
Okay. The best way you know to shut off your computer is not to go down here and select power and then select shutdown. You can do it that way. It's easy to do. But sometimes you want to restart your computer and not just stop it. So for those of you who like to do things like that, there's another way, and that is use a little gadget that I have up here. I'll move down here. The left button is stop, and the right button is restart. So now you can restart your machine with one click, and not the 3 or 4 clicks it takes you if you use the power button down here. Can you all see it? It's little, but there it is.
Do we have Zoom set on your computer?
No, I don't think so. Should be F3.
I thought we had Zoom set at one time.
If we did, I don't know what it is.
But you may have refreshed the drive.
I'm going to find Zoom here. Change the backside.
I think we're looking for magnify.
Magnifier. Magnifier. On. Okay. Okay, now I'll take it down here. Now you can see this is the stop and restart buttons down here.
You want to show again how you got that?
How I got it?
Yeah.
I just went to gadgets. I went to gadgets and typed in start and restart on Google, and there's a bunch of them, you know, that do different things. But this is the simplest one that did what I wanted to do, which was give me a one-click restart.
Do you remember where you downloaded it from?
Oh, some gadget pack thing. Let me turn this off a second.
I like it. It's a good idea. Restart Windows 7 gadgets?
I don't know.
Was that the one?
Well, this is some of the ones you have available to you. But the one, this is the one I like right here. It's just a two-banger.
Shut down, restart, it says.
Shut down, restart. And I just copied that gadget over.
So you've got to have gadgets running to make that work.
Yes, well, I got gadgets because I got my clock up here anyway.
Yeah, I love my gadgets.
So I use Windows 7 gadgets. Bring that over, and then, as you know, on gadgets, this little when you put the gadget up and click on the side of it, this area here is for dragging your gadget. You can put it any place you want on your machine, but that's the way you drag it over. Then once you go off, it goes away. So, yes?
Can we get a mic on Robert so we can hear him?
Is that single click action, or do you get to click twice?
No, I'm going to single click this puppy right now, and I'm going to go off the air, but one click.
All right, how about the stop? Is the stop a single click also?
They're both single clicks.
Okay, well, that's unusual. They usually put a second click in there so you don't, by accident, get it. But I like it single click, so I'm going to get one of those. The one I have got 5 options, and you have to first click and remove the screen from that it's covering them up, and then you can click on it. So it's a double click.
Oh, I don't like things like that.
I don't either. So I think this is great, and thank you for bringing it.
You're welcome. Oh, by the way, you can't see my screen, can you?
I guess your mind and mine work differently. If I understand it properly, you've added another piece of clutter to your desktop in order to save one click. Is that right?
No, I don't convert it, but I can with the camera.
Oh.
Or am I missing something?
You'll notice that, well, you're going to lose it. We're in Windows. I'll do it again.
It's up.
Okay, when I'm going to, when it comes up, you'll notice the screen that comes up that you don't normally get when you start Windows. It's what I had to do to get into the old F8 choice for Windows, safe mode with network and so on. Now there's an easier way that I can do it, but I just am used to doing it like this. But what this does is brings up on my Windows startup screen before Windows, I have the choice of what I want to do. Okay, let me get down here, get my gadgets up and running. Yep, here we go.
Joe, while you're waiting for that, a couple of months ago, you showed me that a shortcut method for shutting the computer down was just to press the power button on the case.
Yes.
And so when you introduced your topic today as the best way to turn the computer off, I figured that's what you were going to do. But now you widened it to show you can also reset.
Yeah.
So let's just back up. If all you want to do is shut it off, is it still the best way just to hit
Yes.
the power button?
One push on the power button is still the best way to turn your computer off.
Okay, well, that's an important point to make. And
Yeah.
that, Jack, saves
And
a lot
a
more
lot of
than
people, even
one
though I've
click.
said it a dozen times, don't remember hearing me. But now the screen you see here, you see what I can do? I can go in here now and get either boot in Windows 10, or I can hit F8 and get the choices that I had before. So and then that gives me, what, 30 seconds to do all that, or if I just want to do it, just hit the power, the enter button, and it goes right to Windows 10. But that just gives you more startup options. But there's a quicker way now to get into safe mode. Does anybody know what it is? Yeah, from Windows 10. Huh?
You click start and type in WinSert, Win.
Well, no, see, that's, if you got to type something in, it's not the easy way.
Okay. Well, I'm a typist. What can I say?
These fingers don't type too much anymore. I've worn these two fingers out doing all my typing. But I think it's hit the shift button as you hit the power button. Hold the shift button down and hit the power button. That should come up and give you the safe mode option. I would do it here, but if I do that, you can't see my screen anyway, so. Anyway, I just want to put up those two little things. The gadget, I think, is nice, because a lot of times I have to restart my machine because of what I'm doing. It says, restart required, so I can restart it this way. I don't know why they keep getting this. They keep saying that they're going to cut me off because I'm not paying them any money. And I said, I'm not going to pay you any money. I don't want it. And they just keep leaving me on. So anyway, that's what I had. That's what I wanted to bring up this morning was give you two options, a couple of more options of shut down, restart, and restart into safe mode.
That's good to know. And that's a nice power button to have. And you've got another reason why you've got to have your...
Yes?
Where do you find that in the Windows settings?
No, they're not in Windows settings. I went to Gadgets, type in...
Oh, Google Gadgets.
Yeah, you
okay.
Google Gadgets.
All right, gotcha.
Yeah, and then type in, shut down, restart. Gadgets, space, shut down, space, restart. And it'll give you that page with, 5 or 6 different gadgets on there. And this was the last one on the right.
Any questions?
Okay.
Okay, I want to show you guys some graphics, something that we have been doing that I'm hoping eventually we're going to have somebody else, like maybe Greg. Where's Greg at? There you are. You got your laptop? This is something I want you to notice very closely because this is something we've been doing at Builder Buy, that we have somebody running the switch. But what I'd like to do is to have somebody that runs the switch and somebody next to them running these graphics. So what I'm going to show you is a program that makes it easy to do this. And let's switch over to computer number 3. Number 3. There we are. Okay. A program called, a company called NewBlueFX makes graphics for doing post-production, that's recorded video, and also for live production. So for like what we do here, that'd be called live production. The program installs, and I have both versions. I originally started using one for post-production. Any video editor you have has some basic capability to do graphics, but going beyond that basic capability is what a program like NewBlueFX is. They're not the only one, there are others, but I'm going to show you how we use this program. Okay, so there's the post-production and the live production. I'm going to go up here to the menu, I'm going to look at products, and I'm going to show you, well, I'll just click on the live production. And there's 4 different versions of this program. This is a professional product. We're using a scaled down version. There's the Express, Live, Title Live Advanced, and Title Live Broadcast. To work with our video switch, we're using Title Live Advanced. And the key to it, and I'm going to turn I'm going to turn a camera over here on it so you can see what's going on. It requires 2 monitors off of 1 computer. And this is something I'm hoping that maybe later we'll be able to get someone like Greg to run. What I'm going to show you is this particular program. Now, if we go to that particular camera, which would be camera, thank you, number 4, and what I'm going to do is as you look at this, we have a computer that has 2 monitors. Let me show you what the default looks like. This is just a regular computer. So I'm going to save this program, and I'm going to call this back up. This is a regular computer. I've got dual monitor output. And if I right-click on this and look at my display settings, I've got 2 monitors. Now, because the particular video card that I am using is an older card, I've got HDMI, which is usually number 1, and then I've got the, what do you call that small display port, mini display port. So when I put an adapter on that mini display port, it becomes monitor number 1. Now the orientation of the monitors is important, that's why I've got it up. So on this particular monitor, it's normally HDMI, it's mini display port. And I've used a converter to get it into HDMI to get it into the switch. The second monitor is the original HDMI, and there's 2 displays and there's a black background, and the reason for this is because of the way the graphics are keyed. So when I call this program up, which is NewBlue Tyler Pro Live Standalone, the key to making this work is number 1, you've got to have 2 monitors. When the program first comes up, you've got a preview, you've got a live monitor display, and then you've got an HDMI setting display. Okay, what I'm going to do is go to the menu, and I'm going to call up this saved project that I've been working on, which is Builder By. This is what we use every week. And a lot of settings down here in the bottom left are going to show up in this screen. If we go over to computer number 3 for just a minute, computer number 3, which would be right there. Now, if you'll notice, when I saved that a while ago, it rewrote my project. Bummer. I've lost all my settings. Yeah, oops. Let me see if it'll call up the recent project. Nope. Let's try the recent playlist. That's some of it. Yeah, I didn't make a backup. Always good to make a backup. I got too much stuff going on. Let me try opening this project again. No, lost everything. Okay. So, I'll use a simple, and what I've done is I've got different style sheets that they sell that are predefined, but the key to this is once you have the program up with dual monitors and both inputs are coming into the switch, this allows me to use this multi-purpose. I take this little window here that says HDMI, I'm going to bring it over to the second monitor. So let's go to the other computer screen for just a minute. I'm going to redo that again. Right here, this little window, I'm going to click and drag this over to the second monitor. Now I'm going to double click in the window. It took it full screen and made that screen black. Now, the way I've got this keyed with the video switch is when I go back over here to the menu of the program and I call up one of these particular style sheets, if you notice, like this one shows a default, or I'll go to the very first one up there, Sparta. Some of these are more appropriate to have a black background when they run, when I run that one, and some of these will work as an overlay. That one works best by itself. When I flip it back over, you'll see it run on the other screen. And you notice it's overlaid on the screen as well. So if we were like to go to, for an example, let's go to computer number 1 for just a second. Thank you. And for number 1, if I run graphics such as that, that overlay is set to run because of this program. And it generates these graphics pretty much in real time. If I like a particular style sheet that I'm using, like the one for, say, live, I key that up and it shows live in the upper left-hand corner. Now, you're not seeing all the colors because the way I have this keyed right now, but you see the text, and that's what I'm after. We've just started using this. Or if I put up Gil Boyd and Joe Winery, that goes up on screen as an overlay. And I kick that out. I can go to the next one, and it'll play through for Joe Winery. And if I want to do something just for plain, like that one that says, please stand by, I key those graphics up. And if I go over to this other where you see the dual monitors, let's go over there, thank you. It's the same thing where it says, please stand by, you see it also in the background. So I click on it and it takes it off. For people that want to do live graphics, there's a lot of ways to do it. This is one of the simplest ways. And this is something I'm hoping that eventually, maybe someone like Greg would be interested in running this, because that way we have 2 people at the switch. Both of you would be able to see multi-view, but one of you would be running the switch while the other person would be running the graphics. And then some of these things where we go in to say, let's go back to computer number 3 for a second. Go back to number 3. Input 3, there you go. Flip it over now. There we go. Okay, here where it says please stand by, I'm going to take that and make a copy of it. I'll duplicate it. So the bottom one, where I've duplicated, it's going to have to re-render, and it's rendering right down there. You can see it now, it's got a check mark. But I'll change the text on that from please stand by. I will now say NewBlueFX live. And when I click on it again, it re-renders. It's because of the video card. It's not rendering any faster. And that graphic now is ready, and it goes on screen live and says NewBlueFX live. There have been a lot of questions online, people asking how you do this, and it's just that simple. Okay, to reiterate, let's go back to camera number 1 for just a second. Camera number 1. Camera. Pick up camera 1. Got me? There we go, okay. To reiterate, what you got to have is one computer with 2 video outputs. I have HDMI and mini HDMI, mini DisplayPort. So with an adapter, I have 2 HDMI outputs. And I figure out which one is number 1 and which one is number 2. So with those 2 DisplayPort, with those 2 outputs, one mini DisplayPort and one HDMI, both of them are now HDMI. Number 1 is the main computer, number 2 is the second computer, and I've got it keyed with the graphics. There's more involved, but let's go back now over to the computer number 3. And if you look at computer number 3, where the program is at, the key, let's go back now to camera number 4. Thank you. And the key to this is in this right screen. If I bring my mouse over in this area and double click on it, that little window is where the graphics appear. And when the program comes up, that's the way it looks. So I just click and drag it over to the second monitor, double click, and now I'll go back over here to the first monitor. When I click those graphics, that's what pops up. So if I want to come up to the next title, and I've done NewBlueFX, and I'm talking about Live Titler Advanced, I'll just say duplicate. I'll click on it. It'll try to re-render, but I'm going to change it. And what if I want to talk about hot swap? Click on it again, it takes it offline, it re-renders, there's a little check mark in there. And now when I click on it, that graphic drops and the new one drops in. And that's just a plain style sheet. Interesting? That's how we get graphics up online, up live on video. Now, when you do this with recorded video, it's a whole lot easier. You have time to work on the shot. You have time to think about the text you want to put up on screen. You have time to go through all that. But doing this live, if one person can be running those graphics, that'll be a full-time deal. Can you see that? But it can really be fun because you're the one controlling the message that goes out that everybody sees. Interesting? Kind of wicked? I think it's wild. I think it's great. That's what I wanted to show you. So if I, for example, since we have the, put the camera back up, and I'll show you, for example. Here we are, and graphics, Gil Boyd and Joe Winery, or I'll make a copy, and I could even change the order of these graphics by clicking and dragging, and I'll change this one. Let it re-render, it takes it offline, and then once I've got a render, then I click play, and there it is. Gil Boyd, co-host. Or Gil Boyd and Joe Winery, hosts. Or go to the third one, Joe Winery. Ain't that wild? Had to show you that. Okay. Now, I want to get into the next topic. Anybody got any questions about live graphics online? For live video? Nobody? There will be some later. We've talked before about hot swap, and it's been a while, and the question has come up twice in the last 7 days, so I thought I'd go into that just a little bit. Now, on this machine is a new Ryzen machine, and I'm going to, let's go back to computer number 3, where the graphics are at, and we're going to lose graphics while we're running on that computer. Computer number 3. Computer number 3, which would be right there. This used to be really difficult, the way the inputs were laid out, but now we've got it simplified, so we're having to relearn how that is done. We've got computers, we actually have 20 inputs we can put on this switch, but we try to keep the main ones we're using for 4 computers and 4 cameras. And the others are on a separate monitor that you won't see, but we can bring up, if that makes any sense. Okay. I'm going to go back over to this computer now, and what I want to show you. Hot swap, when you install Windows. I'm going to close this application for just a minute. And I'm going to look here in the bottom on the taskbar. Let me see if I've got magnify set up on here. I believe I do. Yes, I do. Okay, what I'm looking for is magnify. And what I want to show you right down here, safely remove hardware. This is how we work with hot swap. Open devices, and I can eject a couple of drives that are in here. This is a Ryzen computer. I actually have a 5 terabyte drive, which is an F drive, and a 2 terabyte drive, which is an E drive. When you install Windows by update, hello, Microsoft, boy, they are annoying. They're trying to get me to restart a computer. That is really annoying. When you install Windows by default, new hardware, hot swap should already be set up. That's the AHCI. If it is not, you can install it after the fact, but that driver has to be there, because if you go turn that feature on and you don't have that driver installed, Windows will not boot. So what we do for hot swap, I use these removable racks. These are made by iStar. I'm going to go to Build or Buy on one of our sites. And I'm going to see if I can show you real quick. Let me zoom out. And it's iStar USA. There's a couple of ways to find these. The easiest way to find these racks used to be from Directron. I haven't been buying them from Directron. And if I can find the one I'm looking for, we can find them at Newegg. These are not the favorite that Joe likes, and I understand why, because the key has to be in. I'm going to go to iStar USA, and I'm looking for hot swap. If I can't find what I'm trying to show you here, then I'll have to go to a different site and pull it up a different way. Okay, there's a single rack. That's the style. And what I'm looking for is the triple. And there is a triple black. Now there is a quad. There's a single. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 4. These are all iStar. Here's a silver one. Let's just take this one for the moment. Okay. Either one of these will get us. That's what I use. This takes 2 drive bays. I'll magnify back in. This takes 2 drive bays and gives me 3 drives. So I like to use these hot swap racks. And you are not seeing that on the screen, but I am. So why not? That's interesting the way the converter sees it. Give me just a minute. Is that number 3? That is number 3. Wow. I'm getting a different view. So let me see what I'm trying to show you. Here. Let's go to camera number 4, if we can. That'll get it. Camera number 4. I don't know why that's not showing up right. Can we go to camera number 4, please? You crashed. Okay. Well, I was in hopes that new laptop you were working with was going to do the job, but it doesn't look like it. So, right there. And for some reason, camera number 4, we are having trouble with what we're seeing up on the screen, and I don't know why. Well, give me just a minute while I iron that bug out. For some reason, we lost our graphics. Okay, let's see what happened to camera number 4. Okay, camera number 4. Bring that back up. Okay, and if I swap, here we are. Well, that was strange. I don't know why that did that. Okay, anyway, this is an iStar trayless rack, and I'm going to get to some stuff, as I mentioned, about Vesa mounts, because I think that's the most interesting. But this is something that's come up twice. These are the racks we use, and this is we do a hot swap. Hot swap works on the previous generation of motherboards we were using, which were the FX machines. I'll go to BuilderBuy and show you the specs on that motherboard, and this also works on the new Ryzen machine. The setting is turned on in the BIOS by default. So AHCI is there, which means when Windows is installed, it's ready to go. And that's the rack I use. So any questions about hot swap? No questions about hot swap. Okay, had to show you that. So showing you how to use NewBlueFX graphics, which anybody would be interested in that's doing graphics, whether you're doing live or as they say, post-production. And these are the racks I use for the hot swap. They have their pros and cons, but they work for me. And I prefer the red ones. And you can get them from Amazon. You can buy them from Newegg. It's a matter of whoever's got the best price. Sometimes they're a better price on Directron directly. It depends. And do I need to go into the BIOS to show you where the hot swap feature's at? Does anybody have any questions about it? No? Okay. I want to go into monitors because I think this is really, really interesting. I'm going to go to BuilderBuy. I'm going to go to our index and bring up our talking points. And this isn't about in the middle. And we also got to talk about some of the big white elephants, like the new Windows 10 that's coming out, the Fall Creators Update. But there's also a Windows 10 Workstation coming out. We'll get to that in a minute. Now, what I'm going to show you here on our talking points, I've got a link to a video for a company that makes one of these solutions. Now, this particular monitor up on top, I'm going to turn this sideways or turn it around backwards, and I'm going to put a camera on it so we can take a look at it, because I think this is fascinating. So when I turn this, that should let me turn this around. I'm going to turn this monitor around, and something else we're going to look at that we have not visited in a long time are thin bezel monitors. But what I'm going to show you on the back of this is one of the mounts. And this particular mount is made by a company called Tether Tools. Now, y'all know one of my favorite monitors is the ViewSonic. But on the back of this monitor, there's 2 pieces. There's actually 3. There's a piece that's on this monitor, there's a piece that's on the mount that you see, and then there's this curved arm right here. Now what I'm going to show you that's the most important part, anybody that's mounting a monitor, right here is the key to this. I can disconnect and pull that monitor off. Can't go very far. But that is what makes this system work. It's a quick release plate. There's a quick release plate that allows me to put the monitor in the box with that mount. It's made by Vivo USA. Then there's the adapter that goes on the back and then a bent arm. So there's 1, 2, 3 pieces on this pole that allows me to do this. As I turn this sideways, you can get a better view of what's going on right there. My intention, because we use 6 monitors, is eventually to put one of these quick releases. I know this looks funny on the bottom, but to put one of these quick releases on the back. These monitors use a, let's see, there's 200, 100, and 75 millimeter. This is the 100 millimeter bolt pattern. And it fits perfectly. That has a metal clip. I have found, as I've been looking for all this, let me flip this back around. I'll change our view back to the website. As I've been looking at all this, I have found 3 different types of quick release mounts. And it's interesting as you look at the specs, because the first thing you want to do is look at the weight of your monitor. These monitors weigh 7 pounds. So I found a couple of clamps that'll hold 22 pounds. I found another clamp that would hold 33 pounds. Now, we don't need a clamp that will hold 33 pounds. It's just more than we need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a website video from Tether Tools. There's 3 companies you're going to hear products from. Tether Tools, 9 Dot Solutions, and Vivo USA, oh, and also Ergotron. So there's 4 companies. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a video, first of all, on YouTube that is a Tether Tools video. Now this is number 8 in the talking points, YouTube, Tether Tools, 3 ways to mount monitors on set. And what you're going to see are 3 different products that they make. Hold down the control key, click enter, bring up this video. We should not have any issues with copyright. Okay, here's one mount, what they call the rock solid Vesa mount. This is their, I'll just call it their most expensive mount. It's very complete. It allows you to mount a monitor almost any way you can think of. The second mount is the rock solid Vesa. They call it a local monitor mount for stands and tripods. That's the one I'm using. And then they have the rock solid Vesa Go monitor for tripods. Okay, back to the first one. We're going to show you how it mounts on a light pole. Real simple and easy. It's very complete. It's one piece. But if you put just that bracket on the back of a monitor, you can't stick it in the box. And that mount, I think, is expensive. And that's really what got me looking, was trying to find some way to get one of these mounts to do what we needed to. And that's how I come to the conclusion of the quick release. I stumbled into it. And one of the quick releases is made, and see, you can take a monitor and turn it either way. That's one of the greatest versatilities of that particular clamp. But it's at a price. So if you've got one of those large monitors, you're trying to figure out how to mount it, you got 2 different ways you can mount it. And if you're a photographer and you need access to a monitor to let the talent see themselves while they're being photographed, this little rig will let you set it up all with one stand, where you've got the monitor, you can put a light, a camera, the whole deal, all on one stand. That way you're not on a table. And it also allows us to use inexpensive monitors to do some incredible things. Now, I'm going to hold the video for just a second on this particular mount. This is the mount that I chose from Tether Tools that is probably one of the neatest. And if anybody was interested in making something like this not only will mount on a light stand like we've done, but if you notice there's notches on the top and bottom. Can you see those notches? These little notches allow this to fit. For example, our cameras use a Kessler quick release mount. That could be used in a Kessler quick release mount turned up. That's the most versatile mount I've come across. But it too is at a price, because to effectively use it, I've got it mounted with another bracket that lets me, by turning one knob, I can vary, and I can tilt this up and down. And being able to tilt that monitor can be extremely handy. Now, if I want to mount underneath, there is no hole to mount directly underneath. There's only a hole in the back. Hence why I had to have the second piece, which is a bracket that goes up and over and locks that into place. But I keep all this all assembled. So all I have to do is pull the pole out, attach the pole, clamp it, and go. Or if I used a regular light stand, I could do the same thing over there where Philip is at. So I'll let the video keep going and show you the next piece. Then I'm going to go to their website and show you what they've got. I've got a link up on Builder Buy for that. And that mount will take 35 pounds, and shows here a better view of that mount. 3/8" female thread, a 1/4x20 thread, a baby stud mount, and the ARCA compatible. And the ARCA compatible is what the Kessler quick mounts are for. That's the dovetail. That does the most of any I've seen. I've got the audio on that muted since we were having a noise problem a while ago. Let me see if this will do it. That audio sounds strange. I'll mute that. Up to 35 pounds. Let's let it run on through. There's another mount they've got. I never even considered that particular mount. The quick release, it shows the 3, and we're using the one in the middle. So what I'm going to do now is I'll exit out that video, and I want to go to their website. So I've got a link that takes us straight in to Tether Tools that shows the rock-solid mounts. Otherwise, you'll get lost. I'll hold down the Control key. I'll click Enter. This is number 9 on the talking points. We're going to go to this rock-solid Vesa monitor mounts. That's the 1, 2, 3. And here are adapters and accessories. There's also a mounting plate that'll let you get up to 200 by 200, and also some odd sizes, 200 by 400, and then another adapter plate with extensions. And if you've got to mount a monitor that does not have a Vesa mount, they've got an adapter for that. So do others. But the real neat part is the quick release. Rock-solid Vesa monitor quick release system. Right here it is. Rock-solid Vesa quick release locking base. To get both plates, I'll hold down the Control key and click on this. That complete mount, they want $30 for that. That mount will take 22 pounds, my understanding. Even though the bracket on the back can take a greater weight, this particular plate takes 22 pounds. Now, that's just one, and that's $30. It's pretty slick, and that little plate on the back stays with the monitor. And if you notice that V groove it fits into, like an upside-down V, slides into that, locks into place, gravity keeps it, makes it stronger. Pretty neat. Okay, that's one of them. The other one is Ergotron. Ergotron can handle 33 pounds. I looked at the Ergotron. I like that. And I think the Ergotron was probably the first mount that I found. It'll take 33 pounds, but it's heavier. We don't need 33 pounds. The thing I didn't like about it was the quick release mechanism. That quick release right there, I can zoom in on that just a little bit, is plastic. I was concerned about the plastic. So then I went looking, I kept looking, and I found a third one. And the third one is the one I chose, because the third one is made by Vivo USA. And this, hold down the control key, is number 11 on the talking points. Everybody's got a different name, but it's pretty much the same thing. That's the one I chose, that's the one we're using, and that I consider the best bang for the buck. See if I can zoom in on that. That'll hold 22 pounds. That has a metal latch, and it scratches itself because of the way the metal's stamped. But this one looks just like the one that Tether Tools has for $30. This one was 10 bucks. 10 bucks versus 30 bucks. Both of them can hold 22 pounds. Both of them have the metal latch. The Ergotron has the plastic latch. It can hold 33 pounds. Don't need 33 pounds. We got a 7-pound monitor. So I'm slowly putting those quick releases on all the monitors. I got them on 2. I've got 2 more to mount. I got 3 more brackets to get. And that'll simplify life. But that is the key to anybody that's got a monitor. If you need to mount a monitor on something other than the stand that we normally mount on, and this particular monitor has part of the stand built in, the base is separate. I don't put that base on, but I still have this arm sticking out. Now, these monitors originally were from 2013, so you can see the technology has changed quite a bit. Even last year, when we were looking at monitors, the monitors I'm going to show you were available, but I don't remember coming across these monitors. So this brings me to the next thing. Oh, there's one more bracket I want to show you, 9-dot solutions. I've shown you the bracket that Tether Tools has. This is another bracket that I like that's a good deal for the money, but it's not as versatile, but it's versatile enough. And this mount is $75. It's made by 9-dot solutions, and it can take a pole from the bottom, it can take a pole from the back, and if you need the capability to tilt the monitor, they too also make a bracket for $35 that'll let that tilt. Somebody has a question? Nothing on the screen. I'm on the screen. Oh, sorry. Are you back in control of the switch, Philip? Oh, okay. It's like who's on first?
Yes.
That was a good routine, by the way. Abbott and Costello. Anyway, for this particular bracket, for the money, this comes with the screws. All the screws that are necessary to put the quick release bracket come in the Vivo bracket. And the Vivo bracket, it works. Trying to find Vesa mount screws. I even have a separate pack of Vesa screws for the M4, the M6, the M8, so that I can mount anything from a monitor to a TV on a bracket. But this is the one from 9-dot Solutions. So I'm going to go back over. Thanks for letting me know that. And I'm going to show you now a couple of monitors. There's a couple of lists. I have links up that talk about some of the new thin bezel monitors. And one of the things we were looking at thin bezel monitors, how thin of a bezel can we actually get compared to what we're using now? These were like, I don't know, 5/8 of an inch because we talked about video walls. So I have two lists up here. One, the monitor, and also the best thin bezel monitor 27 scene frameless monitors. You can look at either list, but I picked two monitors out of the list just to cut to the chase, and I'm going to contrast the differences and similarities. These two links are going to be on, well, I've got them on their website, I've got them on Amazon, so I'll take you to Amazon, because Amazon gave the key to one of these monitors that I was looking for. There was a spec I had to dig out. I'll look at the first one, which is ViewSonic, which is at number 15 on the talking points. I'll hold down the control key and click it, and these are on those lists. Now this particular monitor is an IPS monitor. It's got a nice thin bezel. I'm going to magnify and go in on it. They call it frameless, but you look at the size of that frame. That's not exactly a small frame. It's thin, but it's still there. In fact, the 27-inch monitor that Richard Worthen has a frame like that, yes, it sort of disappears, but it's a monitor by itself. If you want to put monitors with it, there's still a bezel there. And if you notice, the base is fairly thin, but we're going to go over here and take a look at the back of it. Here's what's wrong with it. There's no Vesa mount. Now, there is a company that makes a bracket that can fit into this that will make it Vesa mountable, but it sticks out about like a 2x4. And it also has weight to it. So as much as I like ViewSonic and as much as I like the price of this particular monitor, 22-inch at 1080, let me zoom back out. See, I've got this set up as dual display. So when I zoom in, it takes it all across the screen. This monitor is about $125. What's it showing right now? Yeah, 130 bucks. So it's a ViewSonic 22-inch IPS, and I'm looking at a 22-inch because I need something small that's easy to carry around. Okay, weight-wise, we're down to like 5.6 pounds. So 5.6 pounds versus 7 pounds. 22-inch IPS, it does 1080. That's great. But it's just not quite there. So I'm going to show you another monitor and contrast it with that. And the last time we looked at this, Robert Collier had found a monitor we were looking at. Now I'm going to look at one from LG. And this is on Amazon. And the LG on Amazon gives the key to what makes this crucial. They have it listed in the spec for this monitor on the size of the bezel, 2.5 millimeter. Now that's a monitor that would work in a multi-display setup. It's a 24-inch instead of a 22-inch. So it's a bigger monitor. For this, for our setup here, I don't need a bigger monitor, but you'll notice it's a $240 monitor versus $130. So you got a $130 monitor plus a $30 bracket makes that a $160 monitor. So to be fair, it's $160 versus $240 because this monitor is Vesa. And it is thin. And weight-wise, we're pretty close to the same. One thing both monitors share is the connections, instead of coming out of the bottoms, the connections come out the back. So from the standpoint of us setting up and what we do, I think it's an easier way to get set up quickly. And if you'll notice how the connections are changing, the back of this monitor has VGA and 2 HDMI, whereas the monitor we've been using, we have everything. We've got 1 HDMI, 1 VGA, we've got DVI, which pretty much covers it. But when you got 6 or 7 monitors, as beautiful as that is, and it's a Vesa mount, that's a lot of monitors at 240 bucks a pop to build a video wall. But there is the monitor with a 2.5 millimeter bezel that matches some of the large 42 and 55-inch monitors we looked at before. And if we zoom in on this, look at the size of that bezel, it really is. See if I can magnify without that going near the screen. Now when I magnify it, because I've got this set for dual view, I'm better off keeping it there. It really does have a 2.5 millimeter bezel. And I wanted to show you guys that. That interesting? Mm-hmm. If anybody's in the market for a monitor, I still think looking for a monitor with the thinnest bezel possible is the way to go. Because the last time we did multi-monitors was when Jack built a machine. We had a video card that did 6 monitors. You used that video card. Ray Morris used that video card. Ray Morris had, I believe, 5 monitors, but I don't think he ever went beyond 4 monitors. But he had the capability for it. If he needed to do something where he was literally building a video wall, this would be a preferred monitor. And those were ASUS monitors, which at the time were the best. And there are some ASUS on the list. But this has got the thinnest bezel that I've seen. It's a beautiful monitor, but I hate the price, $240. It's funny how you change one thing changes everything. If you're buying 1 monitor, that's easy. But if you got to have 6, that's horrible. That's a horrible decision. So I showed you about some brackets. I've showed you how to mount a monitor, a Vesa monitor, and when you're looking for a monitor, make sure it's got a Vesa mount. Not all monitors do, but we try to do some amazing, incredible things where we kind of are bridging the gap from someone who uses a desktop computer to someone who may do video or someone who may do photography work. So being able to use a standard monitor instead of a broadcast type monitor, being able to use some of these brackets to make these things work is important. And here's an example where we're using one right now with a Vesa mount. It's the quick release mount. So we've looked at a couple of monitors with thin bezels. We've looked at 5 different companies that have solutions for mounting monitors and 3 different brackets for quick release brackets. And we talked a little bit about hot swap. So the next thing I've got that we ought to look at, it's time to start looking at another laptop. Now, Jack, where do you stand on your laptop? Have you another week to go before you get it back? Can we get a mic on Jack? He's coming with it. Hang on a second. Arrived in California. Well, that's progress. Is that mic on? I don't think it is. Got a green light on it?
This one's green.
That's working.
Okay.
Is that one out, Robert?
Looks like the same light to me, but anyway.
Okay, so what's the status on your laptop?
It arrived at High Devolution in California at 10:40 a.m. on Monday. And that's the last official word that I heard. They said it will be placed in the queue and will be repaired on site if possible, depending on whether it's a driver problem, software problem, physically the speaker's problem, and they may or may not have to get parts from Dell, in which case it'll be a little longer. But anyway, again, turnaround time is supposed to be 3 to 12 days, depending on what the problem is. That's
So it's still getting to them. It's nowhere near coming back to you yet.
That's right.
Okay, misunderstood. Okay, got you now. Wow. So it's a matter of time. Robert, does that mic work? Green light, no message. Okay, did we change channels on that mic? Let me take a look at it. What's the number on it? 1510 should be working.
Wait. Yeah,
There it
you're
is.
working now.
It's working now.
Ah, what'd you do?
I didn't do a thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it shows it's working. Apparently it's having difficulty with the signal. There's nothing I can do about the signal. So I don't know why it comes and goes. To remind you all again, we are going to have to change the mics out. These, because of the FCC, we have until 2020 to change the mics out. We're going to have to change the frequency because the frequency we're on, even though these were cheap and they work, sort of, is going to be reallocated. So come 2020, we have to get off of that frequency. We have to change our mics out. So we've got 3 years to do something about it. I'll keep reminding you about that, especially when they don't work, which for that signal coming and going, nothing I can do about it. Okay, some other stuff we got technology-wise. I got a link from, I believe it was from Jim Fallon, and I got something, I think it was from Milt. I'm going to go down to the bottom of the talking points. We've talked about drones before. Somebody was asking a while ago about, you got that mic, Jim? Hang on to it for just a second. We've talked about drones before, and I believe Clifford Carley had shared with us some drone technology. Clifford is not able to come and be with us right now because he's working, so I hope he'll participate again later, and I hope you'll get to see the video online. And shout out to Tom Tyner and also Glenn. Last week I got a message from Tom Tyner. I think he's okay. Glenn is not doing so well. He's having difficulty, and I think he fell, broke a hip, had to have a pin put in, has some confusion. So, and Richard Worthen is with us today. Have to keep everybody in our prayers. Richard's having difficulty with his friend Donna. She's in the nursing home right now. I think she had a stroke. So, yes, Mel. Swap the mic. I don't know why it's coming and going. Let me take a look at it.
Whoa.
That works.
This works. As far as I know, Glenn is still in the hospital now, in the cardiac unit, because he's got blood thinners, and he is confused, So they're monitoring that, trying to figure out what's going on. So he's not doing really well right now.
Sorry to hear that.
And when you have a chance, I have a question, Gil.
Yes, ma'am. I was trying to reprogram my mic, but go ahead because I
Yeah,
can't do
I know.
both.
Can I ask a question? It's more for Joe, I think. So you
Alrighty.
can go ahead and do that.
Joe?
When you have a recovery disk, Joe, and if you tell it to restore everything but the to restore the data, everything but the data. You know, keep the data, but the apps will go. If you have data in a subfolder of one of the apps, will that be wiped out or will it be saved? And will it save your favorites?
It should be saved because they're supposed to do a search for all data, and they know which programs store the data in a little box in the program.
So they're looking for certain extensions. They're probably looking for extensions rather than for the data, or are they looking for file names like data or storage or something?
You know,
folder names.
The problem is everybody has a different definition of data. So you're far better off imaging your disk.
Yeah, that's what I would think, yeah.
So if you image it, then you save everything, data and program. And if you have an image of the disk and you want to look at what you had a week ago, you can call that up on your browser, double click on it, and it opens up a virtual machine. You choose which drive you want, and it opens up, and you can read that drive just like it was a regular drive. So just don't forget that when you're done with it, right-click on it. Like if you're using, say, Reflect, right-click on where it says Macrium, go over to Macrium, it says dismount the virtual drive. So dismount it so you don't waste space.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a firm believer now. I used to clone, and I still do occasionally, but I image probably 9 times out of 10.
And when you do image, if you have to use it to restore, you do have to put on a fresh copy of Windows, is that right? Which is when you'd use the recovery disk?
No.
No?
No, you do not have to put a fresh copy of Windows. What you'll do is, if you use that disk as a restore disk, let's say you backed up your computer last week, okay? Windows and everything, by doing an image. This week you find out you have a big major problem or a bug or whatever, you can restore it to last week, and it restores Windows, everything.
Oh, it does?
Oh yes, everything.
I'm swapping mics now, and this mic now works.
Well, that one was working.
Oh, it's dying in and
Not working.
Okay, I thought the image would not, so it really works like a clone now, an image.
I can't.
The image works like a clone. You can just put it in and...
Works like a phone?
A clone.
Oh, a clone. No. A clone is bootable.
Okay.
An image is not. An
So-
image is a picture of what's on the hard drive. And you can restore the hard drive using that picture. Now, there's advantages and disadvantages of everything. I like it. Clones are good, and we use clones. But sometimes when you change drives and you put a new drive on your machine and you clone back to it, you get a message that makes you think that clone's no good.
That's right.
That's not true. What it says is put your Windows disk in because something's changed in your machine. Mm-hmm. You got a new hard drive. I don't know what else you might have put in there, but so it's going to take a few minutes to go in there and search your machine, see what you've got, compare it with what the clone is, and then it'll work itself out. But it'll go back together. We did this just last week with Ed's.
Okay.
Wait, let me finish her first.
Well, that's her point.
Go ahead.
I think what she's missing is that you have to actually execute some software in order to restore your disk from the image. Whereas with a clone, you just boot to it. But you've got an
Right.
image, you can't do anything with it except run the same software that created it, and it'll put it back on the C drive. And
Yeah,
that's the difference between them.
Whenever you clone a drive, hang on, let me get rid of this thing here I got, and let me,
Yeah, I know what you can do with a clone. It's just what you can do with an image that
okay, I'm gonna get to that right now.
I'm having a problem with.
Tools. I'm gonna open up, can you put me up there?
I'll get you.
I'm gonna put up Reflect. Now, normally when I image my drives here on my machine, I image all of them to a drive I've got sitting at home, you know, in a cabinet, and all of them back up to that same hard drive. It's a 3 terabyte. Okay, so let's get rid of this. I think it wants me to upgrade or change. Now I'm gonna image this disk, and since I don't have another disk, I'm going to say, make an image of the C drive, and I'm going to save it on the D drive. That's not a good idea normally, but it's better than not doing it at all. Okay? And then, see, it's trying to find my S drive, which is the one I use at home. So I have to tell it somewhere in here to where to save it. Anyway, one of the, that's getting beside the point. What I want to make sure is when you create an image of something, let me get out of here, cancel, go back to here, let me reboot and Reflect. Well, I've already made it. If you have not made a restore disk of your program, you should do that before. Actually, you should do it before you image it, because if you do it afterwards, you'll forget it. So do it before. Make a restore disk. Burn that either on a thumb drive or a CD. It doesn't matter. And then once you've done that, then when you have a problem, you want to use that image. You go back and boot off that restore disk. It'll say, what do you want to do? And you'll say, restore to an image, restore from an image, point to the image, hit go, and it's all done.
But you can do that from this window. You can restore from here. You don't have to boot to the CD.
Well, yeah, but normally when you're going back up, you got a problem with that over there. Yeah, I can hit restore here, browse for an image to file a restore from right here, and go back. But you're better off booting, if you put in a new drive in there, boot off the CD or the thumb drive, because that way you don't have any conflicts. Yes, yes. Well, wait. The thing is, if you're going to restore, if your computer craps out and you want to restore it, it craps out means that you can't boot from that, so you can't call this up. And then you cannot restore to a disk from which you've booted. You cannot restore, like I can't restore an image on my C drive and call it up and repair itself. That won't work. So that's why I say always make a restore disk or thumb drive, whatever you want to use, and boot from that and restore from that. I'm looking to see if I have any, I don't think I have any images on this machine here. No. MRIMG. let me check and see if I got any images here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm going to File Finder, and I'm going to do C&D star.mrimg. I don't think I'm going to find any, because like I say, I always back up to the same drive, and it's, and I've got I've got those images set that if I get low on space, it takes the oldest ones, unless I tell it differently, and deletes the oldest images. Now, the only time that would change is if I've got an image, like when I set this Windows 10 up for the first time on a brand new disk, had a brand new install of Windows 10. All that was on here was Windows 10 in its beautiful glory. After I made a few changes and put the programs I wanted on here, some of the very basic programs I wanted, then I imaged that drive, and I've got an image of it called a new install. So sometimes if I want to go back to a new install, but I want to have some tools like either PowerDesk or a directory Opus and things like that, they're already on my brand new install when I go back to that image. And I know they're all free of bugs and viruses. So let me ask you, how many people here have backed up within the last, say, 3 weeks? An image of your drive?
Better.
Not bad. This half except one man over here, and that's it?
They will become believers.
Yeah, well, good.
Robert Collier probably does the best job of that on a regular basis.
I have it set up to do every Wednesday at 12:30.
Can we get a mic on Robert so we can hear him, please?
Every Wednesday at 12:30, my machine backs itself up because every Wednesday at 12:30, I'm not using that machine. And I say there's no excuse for any of you not to be doing that same thing.
Yeah, mine's set for, my main machine backs up every Sunday morning at 1 o'clock. And then my second one backs up at 2:30. And the next one's at 4 o'clock. And the next one's at, I think the last one is the home theater PC, which is, backs up around 7 o'clock in the morning. So since I don't turn on my TV or anything like that, I don't need that machine over there. So I've got full backups of everything. So I don't really worry about catching major bugs or viruses. You know, it doesn't frighten me anymore. Pardon me? Well, I've got like 8 or 9 backups.
You just keep going back to previous restore points until you reach one that's safe, huh?
If I go back, if I go back, say 1 week and I've still got the virus, I'll just replace it with one the week before that. See? That's the advantage of having, half a dozen or so images. And since I've got 4 machines and each image runs in a neighborhood of, say 150 to 200 gigabytes, I can still do quite a bit with 3 terabytes.
Any questions about cloning, backing up, or imaging? That's something we do on a regular basis, which again we'll probably do the first Wednesday of the month, depending on how much detail we get into, depending on the questions as they follow forth. Anyway, I want to go back over to the talking points on Build or Buy because there's a new version of Windows coming out. Right now we've got the Windows 10 Creators Update. There's going to be a Windows 10 Fall Creators Update, and there's going to be a Windows 10 Workstation coming out. Now, there's no way to get a download link. There's no way to know how we're going to get our hands on this Windows 10 Workstation, but I've got a couple of links to some articles, one on Computer World you can take a look at on Build or Buy, that points out the relevancy that this is something that was a big mistake for Microsoft that goes back to the 90s when we all started getting into Windows NT. Y'all remember back when that started. Because of the kind of hardware that we are working with, that we are building, that some people have been using, you've got Windows 10 Pro on one side, and then you've got the Windows Server on the other side. But if you needed the capability in a workstation and to stay in the main environment, you had to use something like a server operating system to do things that it didn't do everything you wanted to. Supposedly with this new Windows 10 for Workstation, it's going to do that. Jack?
Yeah, while we're on the subject of updates, I was just looking at a website, I guess it's TechNet, as a matter of fact, at
TechNet?
Microsoft, and Windows 10 release information. And I was noticing, as we were talking about a week or so ago, that the most recent release of Windows 10 is the 1703 version, build yada yada 540.
No, it's not the latest.
Really? That's the most recent one they show on here.
Well, last week we had, Ed, you had 620 on your machine, right? And somebody over here had 620 on their machine, and I had 512, something like that. And
Really?
as I was talking, as soon as I finished talking, Windows came in and said, I'm updating your machine, and they put 540 on it. So I'm at least one release behind, which I know is the latest one.
So Windows website apparently TechNet website is behind also.
Yeah.
But anyway, what I wanted to ask was, they list in a column, they list the OS build, which is yada yada 540, the availability date, which was August 8th of 2017. Then the third column is servicing option, and they say CB plus semi-annual channel. Can you decipher that to English?
I cannot.
Okay. And then they go on to give the KB article that was the update.
Show me the link at the top of the page. See what it looks like. Release info. Thanks.
Yeah, my Windows machine at home on my main computer is one release higher than 540. I don't know why this one hasn't updated yet.
Looking at his chart, at Jack's chart here, he has right under that another release of 1607, and that's what this machine that I have has on it. It has 1607. It has never released up to 1703. Yeah. I don't know why. And when I check for updates, it says it's up to date.
It says you're up to date. Yeah, I know. I think they look at your machine and make a decision whether or not they want to upgrade it at that point. Because for a long time I stayed at 1507, and my other machines were at 1703, and then they brought this thing up. You know, they realized that, hey, why not try?
The model I had.
Folks, the problem with the mics is because we need to turn the antennas. So next week I'll set the card up with the antennas facing out and see if that helps that mic. But that mic on the far side is why it's cutting it out. It'll work up to where you're standing right now, but it won't work any further out.
Gil, you're doing a fine job, but you're starting to sound like Comcast.
They make a lot more money than I do. I've got the link up on the page if you want to take a look at it you were talking about. What were you saying, Jack?
I was going to say my laptop that I had for all of a couple of days
yes.
Was essentially the same as hers, and mine definitely had 1703 on it.
1703 what?
I can't swear to what the build was, but...
Version 1703.
Yeah, it was version 1703.
And then version 1703, then it's got build, such and such. What web page are you on? I can't read that from here.
This is Windows 10 release information. And what I did is I did a search for just Windows. I did TechNet, Windows 10 release information. This is what I searched for. TechNet, Windows 10 release info. And that's how that brought that up. Okay. And that's the one that Jack was talking about. Windows 10 release information. I'll bump this up a little bit. Current branch for business, long-term service branch, and you were looking at further down, Jack, which build?
You did 15063, I
You
think.
talking to me?
You're the only Jack I know.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you say that.
Had to give you a little.
I was just looking. We noticed that hers was 1607, and I thought it was supposed to be 1703, which prompted me to start looking.
Yeah,
and
and the question you asked a while ago was about 1703.
It was under the third column there, servicing option, CB, semi-annual channel. Apparently the semi-annual channel is a twice per year feature update release, according to the first paragraph on that page.
Right. They've got a knowledge base article.
CB, I guess, is current branch, but
Right.
I'm not sure what that means.
Well, this says the semi-annual channel replaces the current branch, and current branch for business concepts starting July 2017 in Windows 10 version 1703. This is supposed to help us to determine if the devices are up to date with the latest Windows 10 features and quality updates, and to plan deployment schedules. With each semi-annual channel release, we recommend beginning deployment right away to targeted devices and ramp up to full deployment at your discretion. This will enable you to gain access to new features, experiences, and and integrated security as soon as possible. For more information, see the blog post and quick guide to Windows as a Service. That's where Microsoft has been going for a long time, Windows as a Service. I guess we're kind of still at the in-between right now. We're getting the Windows 10 free, but we get the, every time we have to deal with the upgrades. It's not been fun. It's not been pretty. I got one machine right now that's asked me 3 times if it can upgrade, and I've said no. The third time I finally changed the date to tomorrow. We'll see what happens. I have several machines running at 1703, but beyond that, they're different. The machine we're looking at right now is 1703 540. So I'm not running the latest one either, but it hadn't given me any grief. The other one where I'm running the switch at is 1703 483, and it wants to upgrade to 540.
I think that CB, Jack, is the creator's build, and that's being replaced by the semi-annual updates.
Okay. According to the top paragraph, it's current branch.
Current branch, okay.
Yeah,
I'm reading a page that says creator's update.
which makes sense, but going by what they say,
Yeah.
as of 1703, this is where we're getting all this new nomenclature. So 1703, wow. And this shows up to 540 date availability.
And I noticed that upper graph or upper chart has a Microsoft recommends highlight on it, which is 1703 540 for whatever that's worth.
Hold the mic up, Jack, when you're
If you scroll up to the
scroll up.
chart that's up above that, the highlighted
1703,
yeah
540.
There we go. Yeah.
That's what they recommend. And that is what this particular machine is running. 1703 540.
All of mine have upgraded to that at this point, even the Mac.
Well, I'm curious about, as we go back to this Windows 10 workstation, because I think there's a need for it. The question is, how are we going to get it? I don't expect us as users, in my opinion, to have access to it in the beginning. But it's not just, even though they're talking about it's for multiple processors. But when you have access to a Threadripper, I would think Windows 10 for Workstation would take advantage of a Threadripper CPU, even though it's a single CPU. So someone like Box, B-O-X-X, who builds workstations, vendors like that, I would think, would probably have access to it first. As far as the rest of us having a download link and being able to get a license key for it, you know, it's like this other stuff. We'll keep reporting on it as we hear about it. The 4 big things, it's got a different file system. It's supposed to be better integration with the cloud and a couple of other items. We can go to one of the links. I'll go back to Build or Buy. I like the article on Computer World. I thought they put it pretty plainly. Extreme Technology had a link on it. What I don't like going to their site is they run those silly ads. But we'll see what happens with this one. So I'll click on a link. We'll bring theirs up. Yep, these silly ads. So while they're playing their ad.
You remember Windows 3.1? And then they came out with Windows 3.11 for workstations?
For work groups.
Work groups, yeah.
Yeah, Windows 3.11 for work groups. Man, I remember that. That was smoking. They were hot. Oh, and remember in the beginning, all those fonts? It's like you could have only so many fonts because you had 4 files that controlled the operating system and then your layer of DOS. You had config.sys, autoexec.bat, then your WinINI and systemini. Corel comes along and starts loading all those fonts. Your computer slows down, and you realize those files can only have 64K each. So then we had to have some way to load and unload fonts. It was crazy. Anyway, back to the graphic. This is the graphic everybody shows, Windows 10 Pro for workstations. The RFS, REFS, resilient file system, persistent memory, which is interesting when you read what they're talking about with persistent memory. This is like a new kind of memory spec. Faster file sharing and expanded hardware support. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I'll be surprised, like I said, if we have access to a link where we can download it. I'd like to, but they're talking about using it on a Xeon and an Opteron. I still think something like this would benefit from a Threadripper. That's just my opinion. The resilient file system enhance the resilience and scalability of workstations by running Microsoft's server-grade resilient file system, or EFS, designed for high fault tolerance and handling large data volumes. Persistent memory, enable demanding workloads to access important files at the speed of memory with high-end persistent memory hardware configurations. That's like a whole new memory spec. Faster file sharing through SMB. SMB Direct facilitates file transfers between PCs and servers with large data sets, all with high throughput, low latency, and low CPU usage. I would expect probably a system that's using this, that you will have a fiber connection going from one computer to another. Expect to see that sort of thing. I mean, for example, we've got a rack mount, the MikroTik, the MikroTik 3011 router board rack mounted switch has a port on it to put a fiber module into it. It's not there, but there's a place for it. We're going to see more of that kind of stuff coming out. And then expanded hardware support. Handle demanding workloads by running Windows 10 Pro for workstations with the support high-end configurations including server-grade Intel Xeon, AMD Opteron, up to 4 PCUs and a massive 6 terabytes of memory. So it's gone from 2 CPUs and 3 terabytes of memory to 4 CPUs and 6 terabytes of memory. That's a lot of computer. That's definitely a workstation. But I still think some people would like to see that running on a Threadripper. So we'll see. Robert.
Different topic.
Go ahead, new topic. Let's do it.
I've got a story that touches on hot swap and touches on backup.
Yes, sir.
And my constant refrain that I always back up on Wednesday. There is something that was being talked about here for a moment that is wrong with my automatic backup on Wednesday, and that is because my backup disk is always plugged in. It's always there. So if I got ransomed on a given day, it would probably get all of my backups at the same time. Now, my wife is better at this sort of thing than I am, and on her computer, her backup disks have always been separate. And in years past, they were in King Wind drawers so that you could slip the disk in or slip the drawer in and mount it, and then do the backup. So she still does that to the extent that you can. Some period of time ago, 6 months to a year, doesn't much matter, but it wasn't last week, we had to switch motherboards. We had a hardware failure, and we couldn't get that motherboard again, so we bought the best equivalent, and the best equivalent turns out you cannot use Kingwin drawers on. They only work some of the time, and maybe even 50% or less. So we just no longer can store your backup disks in drawers and just put them in when you want. So what we switched to was USB toasters. And that's a little 3x4-inch cube that you stick the disk in. So she still keeps the disks in her drawer when she's not backing up, pulls them out and shoves them into a toaster. She has one for the operating system and two for the data backup. So she does a backup onto two backup disks. So I say she's much more conscientious about these things than I am. But by keeping the backup disk offline, physically removed from the computer, if she ever gets ransomed, her backups are just going to be available. So that being said, for a reason we never did, well, I guess we did figure out why, the backup she ran this week would not verify. So she uses Requiem to do the backup, and during the verify pass, it failed.
Macrium reflex, right?
Yes, Macrium reflex. And so she ran it again, and it failed again. She did it a total of 6 times. It failed every time, sometimes as early as 20% into the verify pass, and sometimes all the way to 99% in the verify pass. So I said, well, now that's got to be some kind of noise condition. And some of the tests that we ran was to back up to a different drive to see if it was the drive we're trying to write to that was having the problem, and it was not. Didn't matter which drive or what disk you back up to, it would still not verify. We did something else like that, but it'd be hard to back up from something other than the C drive, so I don't remember what the other experiments were. But so then it occurred to me, well, I don't know, for some reason I looked at the back of the toaster to see, oh, I know what it was. She read online somewhere that you can have USB problems with sloppy cables, and so you need a high-quality USB cable, and you can go pretty well by the thickness of the cable as to the quality. So I went and grabbed a fistful of thick USB cables and was going to check. And it turns out that both of those USB units were not running USB. I had them connected eSATA. And I've done that because I feel like eSATA is fast. It's essentially internal as opposed to USB, which is always external. But that motherboard will not support a Kingwin drawer. And I'm running eSATA with a 3-foot cable connecting the toaster to the computer to a SATA port. And so that tells me, you know what? That motherboard will not support Kingwin. I'll bet it the eSATA channel doesn't work either. But
No.
why has it been working for 6 months or a year?
Robert, the problem
Yes.
may be the length of the cable.
Say again?
The problem may be with the length of the cable.
Well, yeah, but I've never seen a short option for an eSATA cable, but that's a side issue. The point is recognizing that I was probably facing the same problem that made us quit using the Kingwin drawers. I said, well, let's just connect these things with the USB port instead of eSATA, and I'll bet you the problem goes away. And so these 2 toasters that she has just happened to be USB 2, so I brought one of mine in, which is USB 3. And we connected it, and it did the backup, and it verified. And I said, well, that doesn't really prove anything. You got to do it twice. And so she did a backup and verified again, and it did. So I think that we correctly analyzed the problem that motherboard, SATA channels are not robust enough to handle external drawers or contrivances of any sort, and that expands to eSATA. What I can't explain is why it's been working for 6 months and it quit working this week. But the bottom line is, yesterday I ordered 2 USB 3 toasters. And so I think our problem is solved, but there's several aspects there that you can find humorous or frustrating or however you care.
I still think the problem is, as I've stated, I don't think it's the motherboard. I think it's the cable length.
Well, I know it's the motherboard for the Kingwin drawers.
You may be
Because
right.
we've tested it dozens of times.
You may be right.
And so, once your SATA port is not robust, why would your eSATA port be robust?
Good question. I have no idea. Okay, that was with the GA990FX gaming motherboard from Gigabyte.
Can I make a jump again?
Do what?
Can I make a jump on subject again?
Oh, please, yes.
Okay, has anybody been following the back and forth this week on the changing the way we use passwords?
Go ahead.
Essentially, the, what do they call it, the NIST or whatever it is, oh yeah, National Institute of Standards and Technology is about to make all our lives easier. They say the way we've been doing passwords is all wrong.
Oh, really?
Right. They say quit using relatively short ones and making them complicated. Don't use numbers, question marks, and hash marks. Don't change them regularly. And don't use different passwords for every app and website. But to get a series of words that you can remember, if you picture an image in your mind and only in your mind, and make it long, like a full sentence or half a paragraph.
That's interesting.
The only thing that concerns me about that is if I have a website that every damn time I go there I have to type in the...
That's what cookies are for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's something I like about Chrome. Chrome will remember your passwords as you go through, but the one password it will not remember that it makes you put in every time is the one when you log into YouTube.
Is the one what?
When you log into YouTube,
Oh, really?
it makes you put that in every time.
You know,
Everything else, and I mean everything else, it will remember, but it will not remember that. And I find that quite fascinating.
Do we have to log into YouTube? We just went there and told it we wanted to watch.
As a user, if you're just going to watch a video, you don't have to log in.
Oh, okay. As a contributor, you have to log in.
But if you upload content and you need to work on your account, you log in every time. Thanks, Greg.
You know, I read an article not too long ago that said on passwords, it said numbers are good, but don't ever end your password in a number.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Is that like saying a preposition is the worst thing to end a sentence with?
Yeah. No, it's like, if you're gonna, first of all, they've only got 10 digits to worry about to crack that first digit, right? If they start cracking from the right and go left, then the first one's done in 10 digits, 10 tries max, and so on down the line. So I haven't changed mine that I ended in that, but new ones I don't end in numbers.
Well, I don't understand why it would be any. So they know it's one of 10 symbols on the end.
Right.
But
A lot of people do make a password that ends in a number, like password 1, password 2, password 3, as they implement it over and over again. So the people who are after these things are going to get those people, because they're going to, first thing they're going to do is see if it ends within 1 digit, or if it does end in 2 digits or 3, starting numerically, and just cranking them through. And so that's the reason not to do it, because if you do it that way, they've already targeted you, and you're one of the suckers. So that's the reason not to end with a number, because they will attack that one. And if you're not there, well, they won't find you.
Can we get a mic back over
No,
on?
I'm just telling you.
You guys like to share that mic.
you're assuming that preceding the numeral is the word password? Well, I just don't understand if they find it ends in a number, if they know whether I use Gesamthagen or supercalifragilistic.
I saw a
can't spell
YouTube
that.
thing, I don't
That's
know,
pretty good.
6 months or a year ago that was really interesting on the way hackers do hack password databases that they get. And evidently there is some standard program that everybody uses, which is the basic flaw. And nobody stores your password. Nobody knows what it is. They all run your password through the same software and store the answer. So it scrambles it at the other end. And so if you give them a password that scrambles and it matches what they have, well, then they'll open that thing for you. But they don't know what your password is. They just scramble it again. And if they recognize the output, then they say, okay, it's you. And so the people who steal these databases get that same program. And they just start running stuff through it. And every now and then, you know, they got 1 million passwords stored in there. And they're just trying to see which ones can they break. And so they start with 4 digits, you know, that are all alphanumeric lowercase and try all of those. And that's done, you know, in a microsecond. And then they go to 5 digits and they try all of those. And I'm just telling you that one of the things they do before they get serious is to try some number of digits that ends in a number. And so it ends in 9 and then try it again, ending in 8. And each time they do it, you know, it's another millisecond to run through all those digits. But that is what they do because they can find a lot of them that way. So it doesn't matter what your front end is. If you have a short password in particular and end in a number, even if it's 2 digits, 3 digits, or 4 digits, you'll probably get found if somebody has stolen a database that has you in it. Because that's one of the things they have found historically that will work for them. I saw something recently, 6 months ago, and I think it was Gilbert, it's like a security guy, it's not Gilbert, Gibson.
Oh,
Gibson.
Yeah.
Gibson Research.
Yeah, I think that's where it was. He showed a password, and I don't remember what it was, but let's just say it was password. And then he put 15 periods after it.
yeah.
And he says, okay, this password is more secure than yours just because of the length. And he says if everybody would just have a 20 or 30 digit password, even if the last, 21 digits are 1, 2, 3, ... question, comma, whatever, if you can just remember that, people will quit being able to break them because they just can't break 30-digit passwords. There isn't enough time on today's computers. But he says, don't use the 15 periods like I just showed you up there because they will immediately learn, oh, everybody just starts with 15 periods, and so they'll catch everybody that's doing that. But the moral of the story is that length is more important than anything else you can do. And that's consistent with the way this thing started off, saying you have some little thing you can put in. The only problem there is where you run into some archaic website that says, oh, you can only have a 16-digit password, and you can't use these symbols.
True.
So those people obviously don't care about you and your security.
Some websites, depending on what version of Linux they're running, are also picky about what illegal characters they'll let you use.
Yeah, well, the problem is Vanguard is that way. There's some symbols that Vanguard won't let you use, and there happen to be in my normal passwords. So I'm not going to switch to Vanguard, but I know that Vanguard is not as concerned about my security as I am because they have some symbols that can't be in passwords. It tells me they're using, 20th century or 19th century software.
You should read this article that says to eliminate symbols then. Maybe Vanguard's been right all the time.
I got a question I want to ask Jim Fallon. Can we pass that mic over to Jim? Jim, that link you sent us?
About the Samsung,
Yes, about
chips.
that Samsung memory. We have got to talk about that.
how
Dense are they going to be able to go with this?
it's a 1 terabyte VNAND chip that will pave the way for more capacious M2 NVMe solid-state drives.
So again, how dense does it say they can go?
How big? I can't tell
How
how
dense?
big.
Did you get? Anyway, denser than what we are able to do right now.
Yeah, it on down here it talks could also scale up to. I'm not sure if it says 128 terabyte, or if that's something else they're referring to. at least 2 terabyte, but they already have that, so that has to be something else.
It's interesting to look at it because it says a 1 terabit VNAND chip that'll pave the way for more capacious M.2 NVMe solid-state drives. The NVMe is kind of where it's at right now, which brings us to another link that we had from, I believe it was back up at the top of the talking points from David Crook. We've got one here from Tom's Hardware. Phison optimizes E8 for a 3D TLC, Intro's first Thunderbolt 3 external NVMe. I'm going to hold down the control key and click on that. And that is pretty amazing. You know, the question being, how big of an NVMe drive can you get? Right now it's 2 terabytes, and it's pricey. It's like buying a computer. But over time, that's going to change. Now, right now, some of this memory technology is in short supply and it's expensive, but things are changing quickly. And this is a Computex Type A 2017. They're showing an I.O. card that will let you put an M.2 on it, and that looks like a 4-lane card. Comply to M.2 mechanical spec. And they've also got one in a 2280, M.2 2280 format, which is what we use now. And based on what I'm looking at, PCI Express Generation 123, up to 1 terabyte, and one of them can go up to 256 gig, and this other card can go up to 1 terabyte. So the one that you had and the one, even though they're similar, they're different.
There was an Intel one from a couple of weeks ago that's some huge drive, but I thought it was for corporate use. But who knows?
Yes, that's what it looked like corporate use to start with, you know, server kind of technology, but it'll get down to the desktop. It's just a matter of time before someone gets their hands on it. It's like reading about the guy that was doing, was it 16K with that video walls? That's fascinating. That's what got me looking again at the thin bezel for monitors. But my primary goal today was to show you about Vesa mounts. We talked a little bit about hot swap. I've got hot swap working on the motherboard for me that doesn't work for Robert Collier. Why it doesn't work for him and it works for me, that's a whole other topic. I've also got it working on the Ryzen machine, the hot swap. It works. Works for me. Doesn't mean it's going to work for somebody else. Everyone has different results. Does anybody have any more questions today? Okay, folks, remember, every week it's something different. The stuff we're going to talk about next week, we'll see how that plays out. But if you've got some questions or things you'd like to talk about, or if you have